In today's world, knowledge is a commodity. At the touch of a button, you have access to pretty much all of the information that's ever been produced. Despite all of this information, though, we don't seem to be getting any smarter. That's because the power doesn't come from the information itself. It comes from knowing how to apply it. Welcome to Moments with Marty, your short, sharp shot of leadership insight to help you stay on track between our weekly episodes of the No Bullshit Leadership podcast. If I distilled the key things that helped me to grow rapidly over the years, what would they be? I've often said that leaders are learners, but you could spend a lot of time consuming information without necessarily getting traction. And by traction, I mean gaining the wisdom and insight that would differentiate you as a leader. What are the things that I look back on as being critical to my career growth and success? In today's world, knowledge is a commodity. At the touch of a button, you have access to pretty much all of the information that's ever been produced. Despite all of this information, though, we don't seem to be getting any smarter. That's because the power doesn't come from the information itself. It comes from knowing how to apply it. You may have heard this great analogy. Knowing that a tomato is a fruit, well, that's knowledge. But knowing not to put it in a fruit salad, that's wisdom. Which is why the role of timing is so important in your development. You might read something today and discard it as being completely irrelevant to you. But in 10 years' time, you could read exactly the same thing and uncover the most important breakthrough of your life. Without context, your knowledge is useless. And just bear this in mind when you're deciding where to focus your energy. My path to leadership and business learning was reasonably structured. My big chunks of formal education were a technical qualification in software development in 1985, a Master of Business Administration in 2003, a good shot of business acumen steroids from Harvard Business School's Advanced Management Program in 2007, and the Australian Institute of Company Directors Diploma in 2012. Interestingly, none of these formal education accomplishments gave me the practical tools I needed to be an exceptional leader. I had to rely on my own hard-fought experience, which is how Em and I came to create our Leadership Beyond the Theory program. As well as the formal learning, I knew I had to somehow supplement these big chunks with ongoing informal learning. What were my critical areas for development? As a senior leader, I chose to focus on business trends, understanding the dynamics of the industry my company was competing in, becoming more knowledgeable about macroeconomics and how businesses interface with government policy and global trade. I searched for credible, high-quality sources of information that were going to help me to constantly grow in the areas I was passionate about: leadership, strategy, and business. And I found the proliferation of low-cost, readily accessible resources to be quite staggering. Podcasts, books, blogs, research reports, articles from the most respected organisations on the planet, all there for the taking. I cherry-picked these to make sure I absorbed all the things that were relevant to my context, things I could apply instantly if they made sense. This was a huge career accelerator for me. But there's one thing I did, and still do, that I don't think is very common. I go out of my way to seek alternative views, especially the ones that don't align with my own belief system. These days, ignorance is less about lack of exposure to information and more about exposure to only one source of information. In my view, ignorance is now a symptom of insularity, not neglect. Let me give you my pro tip. Force yourself to consume information that doesn't accord with your own worldview. At worst, it'll make you more tolerant of others, which every leader could benefit from. And at best, you might learn something remarkable that will massively enhance your career journey. For more depth on this insight, have a listen to episode 263 of the No Bullshit Leadership podcast, How I Keep Learning. We'll leave a link in the show notes. I really hope you enjoyed this moment and that it gives you that extra little spark to be a no bullshit leader.